Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating study that tackles a problem we have all faced. You go to the store, and the shelf is empty. We're going to explore how governments can use some pretty clever financial tools to stop local supply shortages before they even start.
So let's just start with that really frustrating experience. You know the one. You head to the store for your favorite local coffee or that one specific jam you love, and nothing. The spot on the shelf is completely bare. Why does that happen?
Well, it's almost never an accident. It's a business decision, plain and simple. If another market, whether it's the next city over or a whole other country, is willing to pay a higher price, well, a company trying to make a profit is naturally going to sell their stuff there. And that simple choice is what causes the supply chain to break down for us right at home.
And this creates a huge problem. I mean, it's not just annoying for us as shoppers, it can actually threaten the stability of the local economy. So the billion-dollar question is, how can a government step in to fix this without totally messing up the market?
Okay, so what can the government actually do? Well, the study we're looking at today zeroes in on two really distinct strategies. You can think of them as two different levers the government can pull to nudge a manufacturer into making a different decision.
They're called push and pull subsidies. Now, even though they both involve the government spending some money, they work in completely different ways to get to the same goal, making sure those products stay on our local shelves.
Let's break this down. A push subsidy is all about playing the long game. This is where the government helps a manufacturer pay for greener, more efficient technology. Basically helping them build a better, cleaner factory. A pull subsidy, though, is all about the here and now. The government helps pay for the product itself, subsidizing the wholesale price to make it cheaper for local stores. That immediately boosts local demand and keeps prices from skyrocketing for you and me.
And right there, that's the core question of this entire study. If you're the government and you see a potential shortage coming, what's the smarter move? Do you push the company towards better tech, or do you pull the market with lower prices? So which one is it? Well, it turns out there's no magic bullet here. The best strategy actually changes depending on the situation.
And it all boils down to one simple thing. How much stuff can the manufacturer actually make? Think about it. Are we dealing with a small workshop that can barely keep up with orders, or a giant automated factory that's pumping out products 24/7? That one single factor changes the entire game.
All right, let's look at scenario number one. You've got a manufacturer with pretty limited production. They just can't make enough stuff to easily keep both the local market and that high-paying external market happy. They literally have to choose one over the other.
In this case, the pull subsidy is the clear winner. Why? Because when goods are scarce, you know prices are going to go up. So the government's number one job is to protect consumers from getting squeezed. The pull subsidy does exactly that by bringing the cost down right away.
Okay, now let's flip the script. Imagine a huge manufacturer. They can easily produce enough product to supply at least one of those markets, maybe even both. Their production line is a well-oiled machine. And here, the whole strategy pivots. For a company with high capacity, the immediate threat of a local shortage is much lower, so the government can afford to think about the long term. A push subsidy encourages that big manufacturer to invest in green technology, which makes them more sustainable and competitive on the world stage.
But, the real world is never that simple. What happens when that super profitable external market is in another country? Suddenly, a whole new player enters the game, and it can throw all the old calculations right out the window.
And that new player is the carbon tariff. You can kind of think of it as an environmental tax that also acts as a trade barrier. It's a fee that an importing country slaps on goods, and the size of that fee is based on how much pollution was created while making the product.
To see the impact, you just have to look at the basic math of profit. A carbon tariff is a direct hit to the bottom line. It's another cost that gets subtracted right from the money they make on every single item they export. And that makes the decision to sell overseas a much tougher call. So how does this big new cost change the government's strategy back home? Well, the old playbook isn't going to cut it anymore. It needs an update for this new global reality.
So how do these tariffs actually change the game? Well, what's really amazing is that even with this extra layer of complexity, the basic logic still works. The tariff doesn't actually change the core strategy. If you're a low-capacity producer, you still need a pull subsidy to protect consumers. And if you're a high-capacity producer, a push subsidy for green investment is still the best move.
As the researchers themselves say, these tariffs aren't just some small detail. They completely reshape the economic playing field. They change the math for everyone involved, for the companies trying to sell their goods, and for the governments trying to manage their local economies. Okay, so after all of this economic modeling and game theory, what's the big takeaway here? Why should any of us care about this complicated dance between subsidies, production capacity, and tariffs? Well, it really boils down to this. One-size-fits-all policies just don't work. Smart government has to be nimble. What's more, those big global trade rules, they have a direct impact on whether or not your favorite product is on the shelf. Understanding all this is absolutely crucial if we want to build stronger local economies and create environmental policies that actually work in the real world. And that leaves us with one last big question. As global trade and climate policy get more and more tangled up, finding the right balance here, it's not just some academic puzzle. It is an essential challenge we have to solve for a future that is both stable for us at home and sustainable for the entire planet. Thanks for joining this explainer.